Can you summarize and explain the assignment? What are you actually asking us to do and what's the point?
So this week what we're doing is the first step in rapid gender analysis, which is understanding the data that already exists. So what you're being asked to do here is to receive existing information that's already half finished, and you're being asked to go through and take out what is unuseful, unnecessary, and add in what's missing.
There's a ton of background documents. There's a very long RGA. There's the RGA template. What's your advice on where and how to actually get started doing this?
I would actually have a look at the gender in brief for Iraq to get your head around what are the big gender issues. Once you've got your head around what are the big gender issues, roles and relations in Iraq pre-crisis, so that's all in the gender in brief, you don't have to write that. I'd then suggest you open up the incomplete RGA and start having a think about what you think is most useful and most important, what's missing and what's extra in that document. Once you've done that, you can start identifying where things to take out and information you want to go and hunt for.
So how can I possibly do this in 3 hours? It seems like it would take me 3 hours just to begin to make sense of the documents that have been shared.
So you can do this in 3 hours, and the way you're going to do this is by being really systematic. So really start with if you know nothing about Iraq, start with the gender in brief, get your head around the main themes. It's a 2-pager. It will take you about 5 minutes to read. It will take you a few minutes longer to think about. Then open up the RGA incomplete document, which is in the background documents. So it's not really the background, it's the task documents. You need to read that document. Get your head around what you think is there, what's missing, understand what's in that document, and then focus on the sections you need to add, which are gender-based violence and WASH. So really concentrate your attention there. You can use the optional documents, pick which ones. What I would do is I would open up things like the CAP survey and the different documents in the optional section and start thinking about which documents contain really useful information that I need for WASH and for GBV. And anything that isn't relevant to those sections, I would just ignore. So only focus on GBV and WASH for this exercise and really don't look at any of the other sections or else you'll get really, really confused. One of the ways I do this to get really, really fast, but it probably is quicker for me than for you, is to really start identifying key things such as I need to understand key things that are usually missing. So for example, menstrual hygiene. So what women do around periods is often something that's missing. Or how people deal with disabilities are accessing latrines and wash services. Or how families usually behave. Where do they usually get their water? Who goes and gets it? So I try and identify things that I think are not going to be there, look for them. If they're not, then I go in and start looking for specific pieces of information. So I start with an idea of what I'm looking for before just opening up all the optional documents, all the background reading, or else you just get lost and you'll start swimming in a total mass of data.
So should I expect to have to look for some of the information that's needed on the open web, starting with a Google search, or can I limit myself to the optional documents that have been shared?
So to answer this question, I would suggest you go through the optional documents. Most of the answers will be in there. However, if you want to, you can also go online. You can look for newer documents if you wish. So really the choice is yours. But if you don't have a lot of time and you're feeling overwhelmed, stick to the optional documents which have been shared, which contain most of the information you're looking for. So here's a top tip. If you're really not sure what this section on WASH and GBV should look like, I would encourage you to have a look at the example from Iraq, from Berseve 1, which gives you an idea of what a finished version of these sections should look like. They're not hugely long. They're just going to be a paragraph or two, and that might give you a sense of what to include and what to discard.
I'm concerned about removing sections from the incomplete RGA, because at the end of the day, I will have to develop a full RGA. So if I take out stuff now to focus on WASH and gender-based violence and protection, am I not losing information? Isn't that something that should be avoided?
The template is a template. It is designed to be contextually adapted for what you're doing. So yes, you cannot remove things like participation and access and sex and age disaggregated data, so demographic data. That will all help you. So don't remove those sections, but you can cut down those sections so it's more manageable. The template is really everything, and what you want to make sure is that you only keep what's absolutely important for people to be able to understand your analysis.
I have never done secondary data review. How can I possibly do this assignment?
You have done secondary data review, you just haven't called it that. Any time you open up documents and data and information you didn't collect yourself and start thinking about what it means is secondary data review. Secondary data is just data you didn't collect yourself, information you didn't collect yourself. So every time you read a newspaper, every time you look at census data, every time you read a report, you're doing secondary data review. All we're asking you to do now is to think about that as a particular step.